Hello there and welcome to yet another very interesting edition of Health Matters, reaching you live on NTA Channel 12, Uyo, your dependable station. And this is a program where we bring you health issues, we discuss health as it concerns you because we want you to keep fit, we want you to stay healthy, thereby making a wealthy nation. My name is Umar Basedate, your host, and today we have in the studio a very important personality, a senior citizen, Dr. Malaki Abasiodion. He is a veterinary, environmental, and public health consultant here in Kpomo State. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And you know what? We're going to be discussing something very important, something that will really interest you. That's talking about Kpomo. Kpomo, yes. That's hide and skin from the cow that you eat. I know a lot of people love Kpomo, and with the economy right now, Kpomo is just the second alternative for most of us. But how healthy is Kpomo? Because you go to the market and you just see everybody struggling to buy this thing. The doctor is here to tell us more about the Kpomo that you and I love to eat. Okay, sir, so talking about Kpomo, that's the common language for hide and skin. But could you just tell us a little bit more about what we need to know about this?
Well, Kpomo, like you've rightly pointed out, is hide and skin from particularly cattle. And so the economy, like we have rightly also said, has made it, I think, the major source of meat for people in their food. There's really nothing as looking at it as a meat source. There's nothing really wrong with it on its own. But a number of health problems that arise from the processing and sales of Kpomo.
Okay, first of all, is Kpomo on its own nutritious?
Well, it has very low nutritional value. It doesn't have much of the vitamins that you'll be thinking of. It doesn't have much of the protein that you're thinking of. So, in terms of nutritional value, it's a very, very low value. And so if you want to depend on it solely as a source of protein, then you're going to get into nutritional problems because you will not be able to get enough protein or enough of the vitamins that you get from a regular meat.
Okay, so now tell us, how healthy is this Kpomo that we love to eat?
Well, like I tried to say earlier, the major problem is with the processing, storage, and sales of the meat of the Kpomo. One, most processors use tires and plastics, to burn, to remove the hair from the skin. And these tires and plastics or kerosene, have negative implications. One is that this can lead to contamination with toxic substances like cyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, what we call PAH, and heavy metals, which are carcinogenic, and are harmful to health. They can cause cancer. Wow. Yes, so it is really, really very dangerous using those things, tire and the plastics. In terms of the preservation, much of this come from far distance from the north, and to preserve and bring it here, they use what we have come to realize. They use formalin, which is something that is used for embalming corpses, and this is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. It is toxic and can cause damage to your kidney, can cause damage to your liver, and can cause cancer. So these are the major challenges that we face with it. Then the third thing is, like I said earlier, the low nutritional value of Kpomo. If you want to rely heavily on Kpomo instead of more nutritional option, it can lead to nutritional deficiencies in human beings at the end of the day. And then poor hygiene and handling. You go to the market, you see how they are just displayed. Mm-hmm. Flies and all manners of things are perching, on them. And so at the end of the day, these things transmit diseases. They bring all manners of things, and then you buy, and then you go and you eat, and then you don't know what you have taken in. And then there's also the zoonotic disease dimension of it. Zoonotic diseases are diseases that are transmissible from animals to man and vice versa. And if this animal, for instance, let's look at something like anthrax, disease called anthrax, or tuberculosis, which is well known. And the animal that is where the skin comes from has been infected with this disease, then the chances are there that you could contract it, from such sources. So those are the dangers that we can see coming from using Kpomo.
The dangers are really enormous. Like, I didn't even know half of what you're telling us right now. But you see, talking about processing the Kpomo, is there any other way, is there any other alternative apart from using tires? Is there any other way that we could go about it to make it a little bit healthy for consumption?
Yes.
Okay, so what are those?
Safer options are, one, you could use firewood.
Okay.
You can use firewood to do that. You can use gas, and you could use steam. Those are the ways that you can still
talking about large scale consumption, you understand?
Yes.
Gas is so expensive.
Gas is expensive.
So how many people want to invest in that?
Yes. What it means is that we are dealing with a public health matter.
Okay.
It is the health of the public. It's the health of the people. Anybody can consume this and get a problem. And so it's a responsibility, one, on the part of the government, to look at how this could be handled. The government could support, to provide facilities and support them in being able to handle it, because you want to protect the health of the public. It is said that prevention is better than cure. And so if you put a little money to support them in doing this, the outcome, in terms of protection of the population is massive. You can't quantify that.
That's true. Okay, and I've also had cause to witness where they're skinning these cattle up the west, that's southwest. They don't go through the process of burning like we do. Rather, I don't know if that's what you refer to as steaming, but I noticed that they use razor blade to scrape the hair. Although it's more time consuming,
yes,
but I think it was neater.
Yes, of course.
You understand? When it was during this Ramadan period that I noticed that's how they skin their ram. They don't do any kind of burning. They just scrape the
hair
yes.
off. Okay.
So
yes,
I don't know.
That's another way. But of course, that is not a major thing. I'm talking about what we have in our environment here.
And then steaming, you talked about steaming. How is that one done?
The steam, the skin, hide, and then removing the hair becomes easier. Yes.
Okay, so thank you, doctor. Then you also made mention of preservation, preserving with formalin, because sometimes you even have to taste this Kpomo and they have some kind of funny taste. And I've been wondering, I said, what kind of chemical is this strong? You understand? Are you sure it's healthy? And doctor just mentioned that some people go to the extent of using formalin. Formalin for me is what they use in embalming corpses. So, I mean, the health risk of formalin, please, can you just throw more light on this for us?
Yes, like I said, formalin is carcinogenic. It can destroy your kidneys, can destroy your organs, and can cause cancer. So it is not advisable in any way to use formalin. But because people want to protect their business, because if you're bringing the hide from the north down here, it's going to take some time. And if you send it like that, without some kind of preservative, it's going to be destroyed. But lack of understanding of the implications of using such a chemical, is what we see. You taste it and you feel some kind of bad taste, chemical taste, you know, when you eat it. So it is not safe to use that, and it's not safe for people to eat that.
It's funny because right now, like I observed, the economy has gone so bad, and a lot of people just see that Kpomo, that thing we call Ikpa, let me use the local parlance, and what we call Ikpa is what a lot of people have resorted to as a better alternative for protein source. But unfortunately, doctor has also made us understand that there is little or no nutritional value to this. So, doctor, what do you think? For you, what would you say is a better alternative?
Well, like you say, rightly pointed out, it's a delicacy amongst our people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have gotten used to it. A lot of people have also eaten on the ground that they don't want too much protein.
Okay.
They see it as helpful in terms of reducing low cholesterol and all that. And so, for that reason, we will not completely say, oh, don't eat Kpomo.
Okay.
But rather, we look at better ways, you know, of processing and better ways of preserving it. Like I had mentioned, don't use tires, don't use plastics, don't use kerosene. But you can use firewood, you can use gas, okay? That will solve the problem of the chemical that gets into the skin. And in terms of preservation and storage, then refrigeration. Okay. Yes, you can do refrigeration, you know, or freezing, to, you know, as a storage way of storing it. Then, if you want to add something to it, you can use salt. Okay. You put salt, or you can use vinegar. You can use lime. Those are traditional ways. Those are not harmful things. Those are things that we, you know, use. We eat salt. We use lime. We use vinegar. So that is a good preservative that would not be damaging, you know, to my health and to your health.
Okay, Doki, being a senior citizen, I'm sure some people would say yes, or we've been eating the tikba for so long, and it's just today that people came up to discover that tikba can cause cancer. So as a senior citizen, before now, how were you preserving, how were you handling this Kpomo of the thing? Because I'm sure back in the days, our parents used to eat Kpomo, right?
Yes.
So it's not like it's new. So before now, how were they preserving it? How were they handling it? What is different today? What are we doing wrongly today?
And what we are doing wrongly today is that Kpomo business has been commercialized.
Okay.
And a whole lot of people are in it to make money. And of course, in an environment, the number of cows that are killed is not so much. Okay. I mean, to deal with the commercial. Yes.
Okay.
We look at, you know, on a commercial scale, and those who are marketing will want to have a stock of it, so that wherever anybody wants, they can get it. And so today it is being imported from the north, where you have most of the cattle population, right? And like I said earlier, to bring that from up there down here is going to take days and weeks, depending on the means of transportation. And so if there is nothing to preserve it, as it were, before it gets here, it will go bad, and they will lose their money and and so that's why people are in trying to address that. They now go to using formalin without understanding the implication of that to human health. So to address that, we need to raise the consciousness of the public.
Yeah, and that's why we are doing
this. Yes, the eating public, and of course the people who are in this business too. They need to be told, and then there have to be rules regarding this and penalties for flouting this. And then, of course, government also has to put in place a machinery for inspecting, you know, where these things are sold, where people bring them, maybe large-scale marketers, and then you look at what they're brought in. Is it proper or not? What way, what was used to preserve, you know, to preserve it? Is it safe for, you know, human health or not? So those are some of the things that need to be done. Like I said earlier, in the past, in the olden days, I mentioned here salt. You put it there. Salt is still a very strong preservative. Vinegar is a very strong preservative. Even lime is also a very strong preservative and will preserve the meat for you. Then, if anybody is doing it on a large scale, then you should think of refrigeration. Okay? And freezing.
Meanwhile, there's no light.
That's the challenge.
We have a power challenge in this country.
Yeah,
so how do we cope?
So those are the challenges.
Okay, and then the program is still Health Matters. We're talking health today, and we're talking with Dr. Malaki Abasi Odion. Malachi. Dr. Malachi Abasi Odion, who is a veterinary, environmental, and public health consultant. Yes, what are we discussing? We are discussing Kpomo. That's Kpomo that you know, the Kpomo that you love eating. And if you are just joining us, we've spoken a lot about this Kpomo. We've talked about the preservation method where they use formalin. And remember that formalin is commonly used to preserve or to embalm corpses. So you can imagine the health hazard this will pose to human health. And so Dr. Malachi is just here to tell us more about what Kpomo can do to your health. What are the veterinary doctors themselves doing? What do you think they can do to help checkmate some of these things?
Yes, the vets have a very important role to play. In fact, they're to be on the forefront of, addressing this problem. One, there need to be a monitoring and inspection system put in place.
Okay.
That will go around, identify places where people stock and dispense this thing and sell to those who go. I'm looking at the big sellers now who sell to the smaller people who take to the market.
Yeah.
Look at what they're doing there, look at what is coming in,
Yeah.
and then look at the market as well, where these things are sold, how are they being put in place. We need to be able to refashion our system. You go to the market and see things that are that can easily spoil, that can easily be contaminated, just being put there in the open. And then all kinds of things, flies, dust,
Perch on them.
We need to be able to address that. Simple education, awareness. People, you can cover your wares to protect these things from contamination. That's critical. And then thirdly, there are laws, concerning these matters. The Animal Disease Control Act. All these things are stipulated there.
Okay.
But there's also need enablement for these laws to be implemented on ground. Monitor the movement, even while these things are on transit coming here, they should be checked right there. If they are not proper, you return them. You seize them at that point, even before they get into there where now people will go in to buy. And then there's also a very important need to also educate the public about the dangers, involved in this. Because a whole lot of people take these things without knowing. Yes, the implications. And so ignorantly, they go to buy something that will kill them. Yes. But if they are aware, people will now be more cautious and then look at exactly what they are buying. Because if you bring something and then people come to understand that this thing is not a good thing, nobody will buy from it.
Nobody will patronize you.
So there's need for a lot of awareness creation. There's need for the law to take its course. And there's need for monitoring and inspection, because human nature is such that we give them an in to take them out. So it's got to be a regular thing across, the entire state, so that we can, in this way, we'll be able to protect our people from, things that we could keep them away from by such basic awareness creation, doing what we should do.
Okay, Doc, truth be told, do you think we can actually do away with Kpomo completely in our society? Is it possible? Is it a possibility?
Well, like I said, it would not be proper to think of that. Why? Because like we discussed earlier, it's a delicacy that our people have been
Used to.
Yeah, used to. And so a whole lot, some people are taking it, as something that is good for their health because of low cholesterol and other contents, right? Low protein content and other, because they don't want, to have excess of that.
Yeah.
And so they resort to that. So for those people, you cannot go and say, oh, they cannot. Yes.
Okay.
But the critical thing is to deal with what is making it, a problem to people. The processing, the storage, and of course, the way it is marketed.
Okay, like you said, there are regulations that are already there in place.
Yes.
So as it is, it's obvious that some people are not doing their work well. Because before now, I know that growing up, I used to hear of veterinary doctors or some agencies going to the markets, going to the abattoirs to inspect.
Yes, it is still on.
I can't remember the last time I heard about that.
No, when the meat inspections are done in the slaughter slabs in the abattoir. For instance, if you go to your abattoir, the central abattoir, every morning you see veterinarians there, inspecting the meat. Okay. Every animal that is killed is inspected, and then they will decide if there's a problem, if there's a disease. There are rules governing that. And they will now
so what happens to those ones that find their way into the markets without maybe going through the abattoir or something? Central abattoirs.
Well, for instance, you hear a lot of the meat cattle now come from the central abattoir. And the possibility of their inspection is high. But then, like I said, we are dealing with human beings.
Of course.
People can smuggle things in. That's why I talked about the need to strengthen the monitoring system. The inspection system. There's need to strengthen that, provide the logistics for the people to go out. For instance, the meat inspection is done early in the morning when the animals are being slaughtered.
What do you think are those other alternatives that Nigerians, Kpomo can resort to in the alternative?
Well, there are many other meat sources. Chicken is there, pig meat is there, fish is there. But again, like we said, the prices have gone sky high. The prices have gone sky high. But even then, for instance, in the poultry we're talking about, I did mention that, you can still, particularly from poultry, you can contract salmonella, what we call salmonella, that is typhoid fever in the common language from poultry. If you buy eggs or buy chicken from farms that have been infected by salmonella bacteria, and of course when you go out to the labs, a lot of people get ill and they go, oh, let's go do a test. At the end of virtually every result comes out with typhoid. Malaria typhoid.
Yes, malaria typhoid.
I don't know whether you have
yes.
So that is the situation. And a whole lot of people blame this on water. But the major source is our poultry farm. Our poultry farms. It's our poultry farms. So that any farm that has been infected with salmonella, then it's going to go. You buy the eggs from there, you're going to contract it. You buy the meat, you're going to contract it. And then, of course, the wastes, poultry waste, dumped anywhere, used to use a manure. It should not be that way. It should be composted to reduce, the bacterial load, because it is from there that it now flows into our water systems.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you get it from the egg, you get it from the meat, you get it from the water, you get even from your crops. Because once those things have been touched, then you carry it. And so it is important. That's another major thing that we need to look at. The monitoring of our poultry farms and testing to know, is this farm infected with salmonella? And then you now know exactly what to do. Normally the first line is prevention, which is supposed to be done in the breeder farm where the old chicks come from. They're supposed to be vaccinated at that level. And then again in the poultry farm, particularly for layer birds.
So that means we still have our veterinary doctors have a lot to do in helping us in the public health sector, because I mean the common man out there wouldn't know. You're running away from Kpomo because of the health concerns, and then you're also running into, okay, for instance, chicken, and you still have some health issues that may arise from that area. So for us, what do you think the veterinary doctors should do, maybe a little more?
Yes, like I said, there hasn't been, to my knowledge, testing, inspection and testing of poultry farms, for some of these infections. There's need to put up a system where veterinarians can inspect farms, take samples, and then do their tests and be sure, this farm is a safe one. There's no problem here. You go here and you test and you see that it's not a problem, then they will now decide exactly what needs to be done, to protect the farm and also protect human health. The veterinarian is the first line of defense as far as food security and public health is concerned, because he deals directly with animals. If they don't work to prevent it in the animals, then man becomes an easy target. Man becomes,
Exactly.
Yes. So
we'll go down with any of those.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so very much, Dr. Abasedio, veterinary environmental and public health consultant. It's been amazing having you in the studio. Thank you so much. And you've heard it all, the Kpomo that we so much love to eat. There are certain things you need to look out for. Be careful so that you don't use your money, go to the market and purchase what you're not supposed to. Because some of these things, like he noted, could lead to cancer, could affect your kidney, could affect your liver. And that is why we are just here to create that needed awareness for you. Let's make sure that you stay healthy. Thanks for watching. I remain Umar Basidi. Let's make it same time next week. Bye.
Time is power.